I'm going to be giving a talk on directed embeddings with partially predetermined facial walks. This is joint work with Mark Ellingham from Vanderbilt and Joe Ellis Monahan from the University of Amsterdam. So what do we mean by directed embeddings with a collection of predetermined facial walks? Well, we're going to start with an abstract directed graph, and we're going to try to give it a directed embedding with some collection of walks fixed as facial walks. So that's what we mean by partially predetermined facial walks. We're not going to determine at the very beginning all of the walks in the embedding. We're just going to fix some and then see if we can extend that to a full directed embedding. By a directed embedding, we mean an embedding of a directed graph such that every facial walk in the embedding is a directed walk. So in this picture that you see here, this is a directed graph, but it's also a directed embedding because all of the facial walks here, if we consider this as a graph embedded in the plane, are in fact directed walks. So what does this mean for the directed embedding itself? Well, let's make two initial observations here of what must be true in a directed embedding. First of all, this directed embedding must be Eulerian. We have to have an equal number of in vertices and out vertices in the embedding in order for our facial walks to properly follow the direction of our edges. And we also have to, at each vertex, have the arcs, edges alternate between in edges and out edges. So every vertex in a directed embedding has a pattern that looks like this, where the arcs alternate out, in, out, in, out, in, around the vertex. And this is going to be important because we are going to consider directed embeddings at the vertex level. We're going to look at the embedding and describe the embedding by what is going on at each vertex. So let's talk about a way to describe embeddings using transition graphs. So if we consider the following undirected embedding of a graph on the plane with labeled edges C, D, E, and F, we can describe this embedding by first describing the transition graphs at each vertex, meaning the cyclic order of the half edges that occur around a vertex. So instead of thinking of this embedding like this, we can think of it as a set of 3 transition graphs where the transition graphs describe the cyclic order of the half edges that occur around the vertex. So notice in this top vertex here, we would have a half edge corresponding to C, a half edge corresponding to F, and then followed by 2 half edges corresponding to E. So the transition graph corresponding to that vertex in the embedded graph would look like this. It would be a cycle of length equal to the degree of that vertex, and it would have a labeling that tells us which edges occur in what order around that vertex in the embedding. This is an idea of a way to describe an embedding, not just a directed embedding, but any embedding that applies to directed embeddings here. So transition graphs, again, describe which half edges appear consecutively along facial walks. I also note here that in the case of orientable embeddings, transition graphs, or the cyclic edge label lists around vertices, describe the entire embedding because we don't have, or if we don't have to worry about edge twists, then this is going to describe the entire embedding. All right, so how does this apply to our goal of characterizing when a directed graph has a directed embedding with some fixed collection of walks as a subcollection of the facial walks? Well, whenever we fix walks to be facial walks, that tells us something about what the transition graphs look like. So again, the transition graphs tell us which edges are next to each other, which ones appear consecutively around facial walks. So if we fix some edges or some, walks to be facial walks, then this in some sense, in a very natural sense, tells us parts of what the transition graphs look like. So here's a picture describing what's going on here. If we consider this embedding of the wheel here, and let's think of it as a full embedding, then if we think of the transition graph for this central vertex, it's going to look exactly like this, right? It's going to be a cycle of length 6, since the degree of this central vertex is 6. And if we're fixing all of these triangles here to be facial walks in the embedding, then the transition graph is fully completed in the same order here. But if, however, we consider this as an abstract graph and we then just predetermine that two of these faces are actually going, or two of these triangles are actually going to be faces in the embedding, this green triangle here, say we pre-specify as a face in the embedding, and this red triangle here, we pre-specify as a face in the embedding, then we can think of how this translates to the transition graph is it's like we're fixing two of the edges in the said transition graph. So how we're going to think of building up an embedding out of a partially predetermined embedding is building up these transition graphs. So in this case, we would want to see if we can find an embedding where we start by determining that these two walks are going to be facial walks and see if we can extend that to a full embedding. In this case, of course, we can. And it turns out that the only thing that can go wrong in the base case, the case of non-directed embeddings where we don't care about orientability, is if we somehow create a cycle of length less than the degree of the vertex. If we do something in this pattern here where we cut off a few of the edges and not make them part of the embedding or part of the transition in some way. So a way that this could go poorly here is if we wanted to set this is a face, this is a face, and this is a face, then that would be a problem. We would have already in some ways isolated out the rest of the edges of this vertex so that they can't be a part of a proper transition graph. In other words, we need this partial transition graph to look like a subgraph of a cycle of length equal to the degree of that vertex. So, as we've mentioned, our goal is to determine when we can make this extension from a partially predetermined embedding to a full embedding. So let's look at first what has been done before in the case of undirected graphs with partially predetermined facial walks. The results for undirected extensions, this situation where we have predetermined facial walks, partially predetermined facial walks, in the undirected case are due to Sharon and Scribera, and they proved that the obvious necessary conditions are sufficient. They showed that given a graph G and some subcollection of closed walks W and G, there's an embedding with W as a subcollection of the facial walks if and only if, first of all, edges occur no more than twice along walks in W. Of course, an edge can only be a part of two facial walks. And then second, that these partial transition graphs that I was just showing you previously are some subgraph, isomorphic to a subgraph of a cycle of length degree of that vertex. So all of these partial transition graphs have to be linear forests or subgraphs of the cycle of length d of phi. If you additionally want to be able to find an orientable embedding, there is one main thing that changes here. So instead of just caring that edges occur no more than twice along the walks in W, we need to be able to assign directions to the walks in such a way that every edge is used at most once in each direction, because we eventually want to be able to establish an orientation, meaning that we need to be able to assign directions to the faces. I will note that you can also think of this as we need to be able to give a coloring to the walks in W such that an edge is on at most a walk in one of the colors, and at most one of each of the colors, I should say. So we can't have an edge that occurs on two walks that are colored the same. In the case of directed graphs, we were able to show that the natural equivalent of Shirano-Scavira's result applies in the directed case for the situation where we do not care if the embedding is orientable. So we have, again, that the obvious necessary conditions are also sufficient if we have an Eulerian digraph and a collection of closed walks. Then there exists an embedding, a directed embedding, with W as a subcollection of the faces, if and only if the arcs occur no more than twice in the walks in W, and all of our partial transition graphs are isomorphic to subgraphs of length D of V. However, things get much more interesting in the orientable case. So let me show you a picture of what's going on in the case where we want to also be able to make this directed embedding orientable. So at each vertex in our directed embedding, if we want that directed embedding to be orientable, we have two colorings going on. We have a coloring of the vertices in the transition graph, which correspond to the half edges of the original graph. We can two color these in accordance with the half edges going out and the half edges coming in. So that's our green, purple two coloring of the vertices of the transition graph. And then we're also going to have a two coloring of the edges in the transition graph, which will correspond to the directions that we place on the walks in the actual embedding. So since we want this embedding to be orientable, we know that every edge in our embedding is traversed by a facial walk going in each direction with regards to the orientation. So that's where we get this two coloring of the edges in the transition graph. So as we can see here, a full transition graph at a vertex will look like a properly properly two edge colored cycle of length D of V, where V is this central vertex. So we have two coloring of the vertices in the transition graph and a two coloring of the edges in the transition graph. So that's this edge coloring that we have here is what's new in the orientable case. We didn't have that in the non-orientable case. But in this orientable case, we have to deal with thinking about this edge coloring that comes from the directions placed on our facial walks. So in this situation, even if we have a partial transition graph that is a subgraph of the cycle, we can have a bad thing happen. There could be no way to assign colors to the walks to avoid this situation where we have a walk like this and a path like this in our partial cycle and a path like this, and no way to complete this to a properly two edge colored cycle here. So this is the bad situation that can happen. The simplest example is like this. So this is the most basic example of a non-extendable, properly two edge colored linear forest. We have two edges in a bipartite graph here that are given different colors. We can't extend this to a cycle because no matter how we add these edges, there's no color that we can assign here. So we're going to define a linear forest, a properly two edge colored linear forest to be extendable, meaning that we can complete it to a properly two-edge colored cycle, which respects the bipartition. So now, not only do we need our partial transition graphs to be linear forests, to be subgraphs of a cycle, but we also need them to be extendable with respect to this two-edge coloring. So what we are able to show is that given an Eulerian digraph D and a collection of closed directed walks W in D, there exists an orientable directed embedding with W as a subcollection of the facial walks if and only if we have a proper two coloring of W. So we assign a two coloring to these predetermined facial walks such that the inherited colored transition graphs are either cycles or they are extendable linear forests of the complete bipartite graph, where the partite sets correspond to incoming and outgoing half arcs at every vertex in our directed graph. So by this we mean proper two coloring of the walks where the walks that share an arc must have different colors, so that every arc is going to be traversed once in each direction in our orientable directed embedding. So the next natural question is, how do we know whether or not a linear forest that is two-edge colored can be extendable to a Hamiltonian cycle that is two-edge colored? And we're able to characterize when this is able to happen. The paths in these partial transition graphs break down into four categories. You have paths that begin and end in the same, with the same colored vertex of either color, and then you have paths that begin and end with the same colored edge of either color. And the problem then boils down to figuring out which of these you can sort of piece together. It's like if you've ever played with like connects, you got to figure out which ends sort of line up so that you can make the whole thing into a cycle here. And so we're able to characterize when linear forests are extendable. And then the last result that I will point out for you today is we were able to extend a prior characterization of Howe from 2018 that stated when an orientable cellularly embedded graph has a directed embedding that corresponds to it. And they showed that this exists if and only if the original undirected graph is two-face colorable. We were able to extend this to the general case and show that for a cellularly embedded graph, there's a direction such that the direction is a directed embedding if and only if the dual of G is Petrie orientable. This gets a little bit into some other research that Mark and I are working on. I won't have time to dive into it today, but if you have any interest in discussing duality, partial duality, and things of that sort with us, I'm sure we would be happy to chat with you about that as well. I think that this is a good place to wrap up for now. So let me again remind you of the main results that we were able to complete here. We were able to show when a digraph with a collection of closed walks with a collection of pre-specified walks is able to be extended into a full directed embedding. And we're able to do that in the general case and as well in the case where we want the directed embedding to be orientable. Thank you so much for your time. I will open it up to questions.